Hey guys, what's going on? It's Colin here again, back with another engine video for you guys. This is a really interesting one, at least for me. It's going to be one of the oldest, or the oldest Briggs engine I've ever tinkered with, and one of the oldest engines I've tinkered with. But before I tell you too much more about it, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing off the floor and onto my newly constructed workbench, so we can work on it a little bit easier, and I don't have to sit on the floor the whole time. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll go from there. Let's go ahead and use some YouTube magic skills here. Ready? See if we can make that engine appear on the bench right now. There we go. I think I did it again. Well guys, welcome to the new Colin 583 garage workbench. This was constructed recently, and I'm not going to go too much into it in this video. I think I might actually do, maybe, I'm not sure yet, but I might do a dedicated video on it. I'm not entirely sure about that yet. But it's definitely going to make my life a hell of a lot easier, and it is very nice. Even though I only built it like a week ago, I already love it. So, anyways, back to the engine. This is like super cool for me. This is, like I mentioned, it's going to be the oldest Briggs engine in my collection, and probably like the third oldest engine I own, period. The only two that are older than this are the Ideal Model V and the Fairbanks Morse Fuller and Johnson hit and miss engine that I have. There's videos on both of those. I'll see if I can put them somewhere over there for you guys, or down in the description. But I keep going off on tangents. This is a 1939 Briggs Model B, and it is a little behemoth. This thing probably weighs over 50, no, probably more than that. It's probably closer to 100 pounds. Either way, it's definitely heavy. Let's put it this way. This front shroud, that's cast iron. Even the ones from the 40s, it's just like sheet metal. But yeah, this is full cast iron. So, I guess I'll go backtrack a little bit here. This was given to me by a member of the Long Island Antique Power Association. So, Bruce, if you're watching, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. This is super cool. I could be wrong on this, but I believe he works at some sort of recycling or center or like a dump or something. But either way, somebody was throwing this out. It was on this homemade skid, which I'll show you guys later. And judging by the coupler that's on the engine shaft on the other side, I'm going to guess this was either a homemade generator or a homemade water pump of sorts. But either way, this thing is super cool. So, like I said, it's a 1939 Briggs Model B. It's got a brass tag on the front. It's got the crank start, which is really cool. And I'll go ahead and spin it around here for you guys. Sorry if the lighting isn't super great. I have not finished the bench yet. Or, I should rephrase that. The bench is done, but I haven't done any of the lights or electrical stuff yet. But, so I just kind of have one, like, clamp light somewhere over there. It's not super great, but, oh well. Anyways, on this side we have the Briggs Flowjet carburetor. It would have been cool to have a Kingston one, but I really can't complain seeing as though I got this for free. But, yeah, those are, I don't know, some people love them, some people hate them. I've had pretty good experiences with them in the past, so I don't really mind them, but I can get how they could be not the best carburetor in the world. But, go ahead and spin it around to the back. You can see this is the coupler I was talking about. These tend to have there's another one of these that would fit in between here, and there'd be like rubber that would go in and around it, like a rubber tube. And that lets you kind of directly connect the engine to like a generator or a pump, like I mentioned. The only thing that's missing from this engine, as far as I can tell, would be the gas tank. The bolts are here, probably because these bolts go all the way through, if I had to guess. But the gas tank and the gas tank mounts are not here. So if this thing ends up being a decent engine, and I'm going to get it running and stuff, which I think it will, then I'll probably go ahead and find some sort of gas tank and make up brackets for it. But either way, I'm just like super excited about this thing. This thing is super cool. I love all these really old Briggs engines, but they're just not really around here. And even when they are semi-close, they go for really tall money all the time. So I can't really get my hands on them. At some point, I'd love to get like a Model F, not a Model F. Those are super rare. I'd love one of those, but I know that's not quite realistic. But an F series or a P series or something really early, even like a Model Y would be cool, but then I'll have to wait till I either can travel for this stuff or I find one for a really good price or something. But yeah, so I'm pretty psyched to get this thing. It's got the oil bath air cleaner, which is way up here. It's kind of cool. It's like the highest point in the engine. And it's got a decompression valve here, so when you're cranking it over, you pull this, so you have a lot less to crank against. And then I have to look it up. I'm not entirely sure. This crank scares me a little bit. I don't know whether it will fire with this decompression valve pulled out. I would imagine that this kills all compression. So you can just crank it over freely and then let go and let the valve out and the flywheel will kick it through. But I'm not entirely sure. I hope that's what it is because that makes it a little less scary. The reason I say it's scary is because if you're cranking this and the engine fires too early or kicks back, it will shoot the crank the other way and it can break your wrist or break your thumb. And they are, at least in cars, they can be kind of dangerous. I don't know much about the Briggs crank starts though. But I don't know, the idea of the crank, it's both cool and scary at the same time. But yeah, as of right now, this thing has no compression and no spark, and I'm sure the carburetor is going to need to clean up, and I'm sure there's goop in the oil pan. But I think this will make a pretty cool video. I don't know if I'm going to get it running today, but it should be a one-part video unless it gets real long. But anyways, that's pretty much the story behind it, and I've probably said this about 1,000 times right now, but I'm pretty psyched to get my hands on this. And I'm also pretty psyched to start working on it. So what do you guys say we start the time-lapse up, and we start diving into this thing? Sounds like a good idea to me. Well, before we get too ahead of ourselves, I just have to do this. I have to see what this oil looks like in here. It's a big square plug, too, which is kind of cool. I'm a little scared. I'm expecting it not to be good. I'm going to pull this engine pretty much all the way apart either way, but I am just curious. Oh god, I see sludge. Oh yeah. Let's grab a screwdriver here. Sorry, I'm going to block you guys. Well, there's a little bit of liquid, but that's that's what most of it's like. Holy crap. Alright, I figured it would be sludgy, but that's like freaking pudding. Mud. Man, that's crazy. That oil's got to be pretty freaking old. It's not as bad as the Lawson I just did. That was literally grease, but still pretty sludgy. So definitely going to tear this thing down pretty good. So, alright, now let's start the time lapse. Well, I got it apart. This is some of the goopiest oil I've ever seen. It's not the worst. The Lawson I just did takes the trophy for the worst oil I've ever seen because it was literally grease. But this is like literally. There's a little bit of liquid on top. I don't know how well you guys are gonna be able to see this. There's a little bit of liquid on top, but everything else is this slow-moving sludge. And actually, if I take a screwdriver here, it's pretty darn deep, too. Definitely some of the goopiest stuff I've seen in a while. It's crazy. That's going to be fun to clean out of there. Also, for any of you guys that work on these, this gasket is asbestos. These are actually asbestos fibers right here that are stringing off here. All these stringy things. I'm 99.9% sure that is just pure asbestos fibers. So, lesson learned, if you're going to take one of these apart, wear your respirator. So, definitely going to do that when I scrape that off of there. But this is in fact an oil pump engine. I heard of them having both, but I kind of figured it would have an oil pump, especially seeing as though it was one of the older ones. And it's actually pretty cool. It's kind of like the Wisconsin oil pumps, where there's not actually a slinger at all. It's purely oil pump. But that is the main reason I pulled this apart, was because A, of the sludge, and B, because of the pump. And I know that that pump is going to be all clogged up. You can see there's still crap dripping out of it. So I'm going to let this drip for a while. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to order a new gasket, because obviously I tore this one. So this is not going to be done tonight. But definitely going to pull that pump out, clean that out. Obviously going to clean the sludge up. Take a little look in there, feel for connecting rod play and all that fun stuff. And then we can go from there. I got to get this darn flywheel nut off, and then we can pull that off, get some spark back, and slap her back together. But that's definitely not happening tonight, or probably this weekend for me, but it won't make a difference for you guys. So anyways, enough yapping. Let's get back to the time lapse here and start cleaning some of this stuff up. So guys, it's been several weeks since the last clip of this video has been shot, and in that time I have had one hell of a time getting a stupid flywheel off. But today, I guess it's a little Christmas miracle. It's Christmas Eve, and I finally got the goddamn flywheel to come off. You could tell I'm a little pissed off. So let's backtrack a little bit. The flywheel nut, which is that weird gear thing with the two flat sides, that was super stuck on there. I could not get that off. I enlisted a little help from my friend Chris, and together we were able to get that nut off. It required quite a bit of filing. We filed it down to I think a 11/16 or an 18 millimeter wrench. So we got two flat sides to get a real wrench on it. And then we had to file the surface a lot, because what he pointed out that I didn't realize is that the top part of the nut had been like peened over at some point. So somebody had a lot of trouble with this thing at one point and went through one hell of a lot of effort to make sure this damn flywheel wouldn't come off, which was just a lot of fun for me to get it off. So after we filed that down, we exposed a bit of the threads. We found out that the first bit of thread was a tad messed up, but with a lot of heating and pounding on wrenches and stuff, we were able to crack it free. We got it off. I escaped with only 2 second-degree burns. Just remember, when you're heating a nut and you have a metal wrench, metal conducts heat. So the wrench is going to be hot too. So that was pretty stupid, but hey, I learned that lesson. And then after that, obviously that took a while, so Chris went home, and then for the next 2 weeks, approximately, I spent every free moment I got beating the crap out of this flywheel trying to get it off. Somebody, we think, took an impact driver to this and rammed that flywheel on there like you wouldn't believe. I kid you not, I had this puller on there as tight as it could freaking go. I was wailing on the end of the puller. I was using penetrant spray. I heated the whole freaking thing up, meaning the steel core. I got the whole thing nice and hot. I melted wax down through it, which is what all this crap is. I used almost an entire can of penetrant spray. Nothing worked. So finally today I got desperate, and what I did was, this was Chris's idea by the way, this was not mine, and it was genius. I got a bunch of 1/4" 20 bolts like this and some nuts, and I went where there was support and I jammed a couple of these under there, and then these 2 nuts were actually under the flywheel already, so I put nuts on top of these just kind of sitting there, and I went around and I cranked down on it and put a lot of pressure on the lip of this flywheel. And then I went around, I did that a couple times, wailed on the puller some, and it finally cracked free. And boy, I wish I had the camera on, because I was as giddy as a little boy. I was, you know, in a candy shop. I was like dancing around. I was so happy. So this thing is finally off of here. I'm going to make sure to put this on in a way where that won't happen again. And we can finally take a look at some of this ignition stuff here. Hopefully it will be a matter of cleaning up the points, and this coil will be good, and we'll get the spark. And we can go from there, but knowing my luck and the way things have been going so far, it won't be that easy. But anyways, just figured I'd fill you guys in what's been going on, because I didn't film it. because it was just too much effort and too long, and it would have been too boring and probably gotten deleted anyways. But if I get this going, then I will go ahead and I will flatten out this piece of steel again, and I'll go ahead and continue on with this project. So there you go. That's what's been going on in the meantime. So let's get back to the time lapse now. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but we have spark. That is very good, because that means that this coil is good and that we can move on with this project, because if that coil was bad, this project may have never been completed. For those of you guys who don't know, these Briggs horseshoe coils are not cheap. So, it's very good that we have good spark. I'm going to shut the light off for you guys, maybe that'll help. Look right there. So there you go, we got spark. That makes me very happy. Alright, let's continue on. Alright guys, so I would just like to point out, first off, somebody's definitely been in here before. I think somebody replaced this wire, this coil, spark plug wire, and they did a big no-no, and they soldered it to the coil. Briggs engines, you don't solder the wires to the coils. The heat is not good for them. Simply just put the wire through and twist it around, and that's how they did it from the factory. So that's been done. Then after that they taped up the coil. I don't know whether they did another repair to it or they were just trying to cover up that terminal. They also went ahead and balanced the flywheel, I'm assuming, because the inside of the flywheel says B-A-L-O-K, like balanced okay. And in like that machinist blue stuff, Briggs never balanced their flywheels. And then after that, they went ahead and made my life miserable by ramming that thing on with an impact driver, and then ramming the nut on with an impact driver, and then peening the nut over so the thing would never freaking come off. So, yeah, don't do any of that stuff. I don't think balancing the flywheel is a bad thing, but soldering that on and then ramming stuff on with an impact driver it's not the right way to do things, and it makes it miserable for the next person who has to work on it. Which very well may be you, or it very well may not be you. So don't do that. But now I'm going to go ahead and desolder this, and I'm going to put a new plug wire on it. But I don't like doing that because it could be bad for the coil. But I have no choice because this wire is like falling apart. But just figured I'd add that note in there for you guys who may be working on one of these or may work on one of these at some point and didn't know that. So don't do that. So guys, it's Colin from the future here. So I started editing up the video on this Briggs the other night, even though I'm not quite done with the engine yet. And it turns out that it was getting really, really long, even with the time lapse and everything. And I cranked up the time lapse speed a lot. It was too long for one video. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to split this into two parts. Don't worry, it won't be like the Fuller and Johnson video, which, if any of you guys are wondering, I'm almost done with that thing. I'm waiting on a couple parts for it. That's the problem. And then I want to make a video when I'm completely done with it, so I don't have to do 3 parts. So that's what the wait is on that one. But this one won't be like that. As long as I can get the help I need with this thing, that's the only bottleneck I have right now, is I need a little help with something. I should be able to get the next part out in a week or two from the time that this one is posted. But I think I'm just going to wrap this up and call this the end of part 1. So we got some decent progress done. This thing is turning out to be a bit of more of a mess than I originally anticipated, but I think in the next part we'll get it going. So anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. If you like what you see, hit the little like and subscribe buttons. I would appreciate that. Turns out there's only like 10% of you guys who are actually subscribed, which is kind of crazy. I don't know what the rest of you guys are waiting for. And there's only going to be more videos coming, and they're only going to get more and more interesting. So go ahead and hit that little subscribe button. I'd appreciate that. And by all means, leave a comment if you have one. I love talking to you guys in the comments. That's like the best part of doing this. So anyways, as I said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.